Commander Taemin Park floated in his water tank aboard the massive space station called Sanctuary. His blue skin rippled as he moved through the warm liquid that kept his people alive in space. The Nereid had been part of the Galactic Council for over 2,000 years. In all that time, Taemin had never seen anything like the signal that appeared on his screens 3 days ago. The message came from a star system the Council had never contacted before. The locals called it Sol System. The beings there called themselves humans. Their message was simple enough. They wanted to meet other intelligent life. But something about their signal made Taemin's gills flutter with worry. The energy readings were massive. These humans had power sources that could light up entire moons. Taemin pressed a button on his control panel. The holographic display showed energy patterns from the human transmission. Red warning lights blinked across the data. Whatever these humans were using to send their message could probably destroy a small planet if they wanted to. Dr. Ji-Hai Choi walked into the observation deck of the Council station. She was a Kalari, one of the insect-like species that joined the Council 500 years ago. Her 4 arms moved quickly as she sorted through data tablets. Her compound eyes reflected the starlight streaming through the station's windows. "Commander, Park," she said in her clicking voice. "I have finished studying the human communications we intercepted. You need to see this." Taemin swam to the edge of his tank. A clear barrier let him speak with air-breathing species. "What did you find, Doctor?" Ji-Hai's antennae twitched. This was never a good sign. The humans are not like other species we have met. They think differently. Very differently. She activated a holographic display. Lines of text appeared in the air between them. These are private messages between human leaders. Look at how they talk about meeting us. Taemin read the translations. His gills stopped moving for a moment. The humans were not excited about first contact. They were scared. More than scared, they were preparing for war. Every message talked about weapons, defenses, and battle plans. They spoke about the Council like it might be an enemy force. "This cannot be right," Taemin said. "No spacefaring species thinks this way. Once a civilization develops faster than light travel, they leave warfare behind. It is natural evolution." Ji-Hai's 4 arms gestured rapidly. "I thought the same thing, but look at this data." More holograms appeared. "The humans have been listening to our communications for 50 years. They know we are peaceful. They know the Council has not fought a real war in 3,000 years, yet they still prepare for battle." Far across the galaxy, Sub-Admiral So-Ra Kim stood on the bridge of Earth's diplomatic ship Harmony's Voice. The vessel was beautiful, designed to show humanity's peaceful intentions. Its hull was smooth white metal, decorated with artistic patterns from every human culture. Powerful but clearly defensive shields protected the ship. The weapons were minimal, just enough to protect against pirates or asteroids. So-Ra looked out at the stars and wondered if this was a mistake. Earth's leaders had argued for months about which ship to send for first contact. The diplomats wanted to send only Harmony's Voice. The military wanted to send the Leviathan. In the end, they decided to send both. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Dong-Woo, Park from the communications station. "We are receiving another message from Earth Command." So-Ra nodded. "Put it through." Admiral Wook-Jin-an appeared on the main screen. His weathered face showed the stress of the past weeks. "So-Ra, I hope you understand why we made this decision. The Leviathan will follow 3 days behind you. Captain Lee has orders to stay back unless you call for help." "I understand, sir," So-Ra replied. "But I still think one diplomatic ship should be enough. These people have been peaceful for thousands of years." Wook-Jin's expression darkened. "Remember what we found on Kepler 442b, Admiral, and Ross 128b, and Wolf 359c, 15 dead worlds with advanced civilizations, all destroyed by something with incredible power. Until we know what killed them, we prepare for the worst." So-Ra felt a chill run down her spine. The archaeological discoveries had changed everything for humanity. World after world showed the same pattern, advanced civilizations that suddenly went silent. No survivors, no explanations. Just empty planets and melted cities. Back on Sanctuary Station, Commander Taemin was having his own conversation with Council leadership. The holographic forms of 12 different species surrounded his tank. Each one represented billions of citizens across the galaxy. "Commander Park," said High Counselor Veltar, a tall crystal being that spoke through musical tones. "Your report about these humans is disturbing. Are you certain about these energy readings?" Taemin's tail swished nervously in the water. "The data is clear, High Counselor. Their power sources are unlike anything we have seen, and Dr. Choi's cultural analysis suggests they view First Contact as a potential threat." A rumbling voice came from Counselor Thekmor, a rock-like being from the outer systems. "Perhaps they are simply cautious. Many young species fear the unknown." Dr. Ji-Hai stepped forward. "With respect, Counselor, this goes beyond caution. The humans have weapons technology that seems designed for large-scale warfare. They build their ships like they expect to fight entire fleets." "Impossible," said Counselor Yilneth, whose gaseous form shifted colors as she spoke. "No species reaches the stars while still thinking about war. Aggression prevents the cooperation needed for space travel." Taemin wished he could agree. The Council had met 47 different species over 3 millennia. All of them had been peaceful by the time they achieved faster-than-light travel. It was the natural way of things. Warlike species destroyed themselves before leaving their home planets. But the humans were different. They had somehow become spacefaring while keeping their warrior instincts. "It should have been impossible." "There is more," Ji-Hai said quietly. "The humans have been exploring space for over a century. In that time, they have found evidence of destroyed civilizations throughout their local region. Worlds that were wiped out by unknown forces." The council chamber fell silent. This was new information. "What kind of evidence?" asked High Counselor Veltar. "Blast patterns, melted cities, technology fragments. The humans believe something powerful has been systematically destroying advanced civilizations for thousands of years." Counselor Thekmor's rocky surface rumbled. "If this were true, we would know about it. The Council keeps records going back 3,000 years. We have never encountered evidence of such destruction. The human data suggests this destruction happens in cycles," Ji-Hai continued. "Every 7,000 to 8,000 years. The current galactic civilization exists because it developed after the last cycle ended." Taemin felt his water grow cold around him. If the humans were right, it meant the peaceful galaxy he knew was living on borrowed time. It meant something was out there, waiting to return. On Earth, the final preparations were underway. Captain Hyunwoo Lee stood in the command center of the Leviathan, watching his crew make last-minute checks. The ship was a monster, 3 kilometers long and bristling with enough firepower to level continents. To human eyes, it was beautiful. To anyone else, it would look like a nightmare. "Captain," said Engineer Jae Sung-han, "all weapons systems are online, shields at maximum. We are ready for whatever we might find out there." Lee nodded. Humanity had learned hard lessons from the dead worlds they had discovered. When you found evidence that something could wipe out entire civilizations, you did not go exploring with just peaceful intentions. You went prepared for war. The Leviathan began its journey toward the stars, following in the wake of Harmony's voice. Behind them, Earth's hidden defense fleet remained ready. Humanity was about to meet the galaxy, but they would do it on their own terms. In the depths of space, ancient sensors detected the movement of the human ships. Systems that had been dormant for millennia began to wake up. Something vast and patient took notice of the unusual energy signatures heading toward the galactic core. The cycle was not yet complete, but these new signals were different from anything seen before. These beings carried power signatures that suggested they might actually be able to fight back. For the first time in 8,000 years, the Watchers in the Dark felt something they had not experienced since the last cleansing: uncertainty. Ambassador Eun-ji-nam smiled as she walked through the corridors of the Galactic Council Station. The meeting had gone better than anyone on Earth had hoped. The Council members were friendly, curious, and genuinely excited to welcome humanity into their galactic community. Their technology was impressive, their art was beautiful, and their history was rich with peaceful cooperation. "Sub-Admiral Kim," she said into her communication device, "the cultural exchange is proceeding perfectly. These people are exactly what they appear to be: peaceful, advanced, and welcoming. I think we may have been too worried. Sora's voice crackled back through the device. That's wonderful news, Ambassador. Earth Command will be relieved to hear it. Yunji stopped at a large window that looked out into space. The council station was magnificent, a crystal and metal structure that housed thousands of beings from dozens of different worlds. Gardens floated in zero gravity. Art galleries showcased the creativity of 47 different species. Children from different worlds played together in the common areas. It was everything humanity had hoped to find among the stars. Commander Taemin Park watched the human ambassador from his water tank on the observation deck. She seemed genuine in her appreciation for council culture. Her questions were thoughtful. Her gifts from Earth were beautiful and showed human creativity at its finest. She was exactly what he expected from a peaceful species making first contact. So, why did the energy readings from her ship still make him nervous? Dr. Ji-hai Choi approached his tank. Her 4 arms carried data tablets covered with new information. Commander, I have been analyzing the human diplomatic ship. The results are confusing. How so, Doctor? The ship appears to be exactly what they say it is, a vessel designed for peaceful first contact. The weapons are minimal. The shields are defensive. The crew is small and focused on diplomatic functions. Ji-hai paused, her antennae twitching. But the power core is enormous. Why would a diplomatic ship need so much energy? Taemin studied the data. The human ship could power a small city with its reactor. Perhaps their technology is simply less efficient than ours. I thought the same thing, Ji-hai replied, until I realized what all that power is actually doing. Commander, that ship is running the most powerful sensor array I have ever seen. They are scanning everything within a light-year radius, every ship, every station, every piece of technology we have. For what purpose? I believe they are mapping our defensive capabilities, not to attack us, but to understand exactly what kind of protection we have against outside threats. Before Taemin could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. His communication system activated automatically. All station personnel, came the voice of Station Commander Raquel. We have an unidentified contact approaching from the direction of the Sol system. Energy signature is unprecedented. All ships maintain current positions and await instructions. Taemin's gills stopped moving. Through the transparent wall of his tank, he could see Ambassador Nam's face change. The friendly, curious expression was gone. In its place was something cold and professional, the look of a soldier preparing for battle. 3 days behind the diplomatic ship, Captain Hyun-woo Lee stood on the bridge of the Leviathan as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The massive warship materialized in normal space like a mountain appearing from fog. Its hull was dark metal, angular and brutal in design. Weapons ports covered every surface. Shield generators hummed with barely contained power. Captain, said Lieutenant Bo-Ra Shin from the weapons station, all systems are operational. Shall I begin standard defensive protocols? Affirmative, Lee replied. But keep everything at minimum power. We don't want to appear threatening, why? Lee considered minimum power would have terrified any council observer who understood the readings. Even at its lowest settings, the Leviathan's shields could stop anything the peaceful galaxy could throw at it. Its weapons, powered down for diplomatic courtesy, still carried enough firepower to crack a moon. On the council station, emergency meetings were being called. Species representatives who had never seen a military vessel larger than a patrol. Both stared at sensor readings that broke their understanding of what was possible. The energy signature is off our scales, reported Chief Science Officer Yulmon to the emergency assembly. This single ship carries more firepower than our entire system defense fleet. High Counselor Veltar's crystal form resonated with worried tones. Are we certain it is a human vessel? Confirmed, High Counselor. It matches the design patterns from their diplomatic ship, but scaled up by a factor of 50. And there are more ships behind it, at least 20 vessels of similar size. Counselor. Thekmore's rocky surface cracked with stress. 20 ships. How many ships do these humans have? Dr. Ji-hai Choi had been studying the new arrival since it appeared. Her analysis was making her increasingly worried. Council members, I need to share something important. I have been studying human military doctrine from their intercepted communications. What we are seeing is not an invasion force. Then what is it? Asked Counselor Yilneth. It is what humans call a routine escort. According to their protocols, sending important diplomats into unknown territory without proper protection is considered irresponsible. To them, this is normal procedure. The council chamber fell silent. If this was normal human procedure, what did their actual military look like? Captain Lee was having his own concerns on the bridge of the Leviathan. His sensors were showing him something that made no sense. The Council's defensive installations were barely worthy of the name. Their ships were beautiful but fragile. Their weapons were designed for mining and construction, not warfare. Engineer Han? He called to his chief weapons specialist. Are these readings correct? These people have no real defenses at all. Jae-Sung Han checked his instruments twice before answering. Confirmed, Captain. Their most powerful weapon appears to be a mining laser that might cut through our outer hull plating if they had several hours to work on it. How is that possible? They have faster-than-light travel. They have energy shields. They have technology. We can barely understand. But no weapons? Maybe they never needed them, sir. According to their history, they haven't fought a war in 3,000 years. Lee felt a chill run through him. 3,000 years of peace. It sounded wonderful, but it also meant these people had no idea what real threats looked like. They had built a beautiful, advanced civilization with no way to protect it. On Sanctuary Station, Ambassador Nam was receiving urgent communications from the Leviathan. Captain Lee's report was disturbing. The Council's defenses were almost non-existent. If something had been systematically destroying advanced civilizations throughout the galaxy, these people would be helpless against it. Ambassador, came Sora's voice over the communication link. Earth Command is requesting a full tactical assessment of Council defensive capabilities. They want to know if these people can protect themselves. Yunji looked around the beautiful station with its peaceful inhabitants. Children played in the gardens, artists worked on sculptures, scientists shared discoveries freely between species. It was everything humanity had dreamed of finding in space. It was also completely defenseless. Sub-Admiral, please send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the Council is exactly what they appear to be. A peaceful coalition of advanced species. They have incredible technology for art, science, and exploration. But they have no real military capabilities, none at all. Back on the Leviathan, General In-Ho Yoon was studying tactical displays of the local star systems. As Earth's top military strategist, he had been sent along to assess potential threats and opportunities. What he was seeing made him deeply uncomfortable. Captain Lee, he said quietly, look at these star charts. Do you see the pattern? Lee studied the holographic display. The Council's territory was spread across 17 star systems, connected by regular trade routes and communication networks. It was efficient, logical, and completely indefensible. No choke points, Lee observed. No defensive installations at system boundaries. No early warning networks in empty space. If someone wanted to attack them, they could hit any system without warning. Worse than that, Yoon replied. Look at their industrial centers. Everything important is in the same systems as their population. Centers. If their shipyards were destroyed, they would have no way to build replacements. If their communication hubs were hit, they couldn't coordinate a response. Lee understood. The Council had built their civilization for efficiency and beauty, not survival. They had never considered that someone might want to destroy them. Dr. Ji Hae Choi was reaching the same conclusion from her analysis of human behavior. The more she studied their protocols and procedures, the more she realized that humanity approached everything as if it might turn dangerous at any moment. Their diplomatic ship carried enough sensors to map an entire solar system. Their escort carried enough firepower to sterilize planets. Their communication protocols included codes for dozens of different combat scenarios. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to think this was normal. Commander Park, she said to Taemin, I need to ask you something. In all of your experience with First Contact, have you ever encountered a species that came prepared for immediate warfare? Taemahai Counselor Veltar stood in the center of the council chamber, his crystal form shimmering with nervous energy. The First Contact protocols had been followed perfectly for 3 days. The humans seemed peaceful enough, even if their escort ship was disturbingly powerful. Now came the traditional next step, The demonstration of technology. Ambassador Nam, Veltar said, his musical voice carrying across the chamber. As is our custom with new species, we would like to see examples of your people's achievements. Perhaps you could show us your medical advances or your methods of space travel? Ambassador Yunjinam nodded politely. She had been expecting this request. Of course, High Counselor. We would be honored to demonstrate human technology. What type of demonstration would be most appropriate? Something that represents your civilization's greatest accomplishments, suggested Counselor Thekmore. Most species show us their art, their science, or their peaceful innovations. Yunji considered this carefully. Earth Command had prepared several demonstration options. The medical advances would be impressive. The faster-than-light drive improvements were significant. But given what they had learned about the Council's complete lack of defenses, maybe it was time to show them something more important. High Counselor, we would like to demonstrate our asteroid management systems. We believe this technology might be of interest to the Council. Dr. Jihai Choi felt her antennae twitch with worry. She had been studying human terminology for days. Now, when humans said asteroid management, they usually meant weapons testing. But surely they would not demonstrate weapons to a peaceful first contact situation. Captain Hyunwoo Lee received the request aboard the Leviathan with mixed feelings. On one hand, showing the Council humanity's defensive capabilities might help them understand the threats that existed in the galaxy. On the other hand, these people had lived in peace for 3,000 years. They might not be ready to see what real weapons could do. General Yoon, he called to his strategic advisor, Earth Command is requesting a standard asteroid management demonstration. What do you recommend? General In-ho Yoon studied the local star charts. There is an uninhabited moon in the Kepler-78 system, about 2 light-years from here. No life signs, no valuable resources. It would make an acceptable target for a minimal demonstration. Minimal? Something that shows our capabilities without being too aggressive. Maybe a Class C bombardment pattern. Just enough to make the point. Lee nodded. In human terms, a Class C bombardment was practically gentle. It was what they used for routine mining operations or clearing space debris. The Council observers would see an impressive display of human engineering without witnessing anything truly destructive. He had no idea how wrong he was. Commander Tae-min Park floated in his water tank aboard the observation ship that followed the human fleet to the demonstration site. Around him, representatives from 12 different species waited to see what humanity had to offer. The mood was curious and friendly. Several council members were placing bets on what type of mining technology the humans would show them. I predict. They will use some form of precision laser array, said Councillor Yilneth, her gaseous form shifting with excitement. Their energy readings suggest very advanced beam weapons. Perhaps they have developed new explosive techniques, suggested Councillor Dul-10 from the insectoid hive worlds. Many young species are quite creative with chemistry. Dr. Jihai Choi said nothing. She had been studying the human ship's weapons signatures for hours. Whatever they were planning to demonstrate was operating on energy scales she had never seen before. Her instruments were having trouble getting accurate readings because the power levels were so far beyond normal ranges. Lieutenant Bo-Ra Shin sat at the weapons console of the Leviathan, running final checks on the bombardment systems. Captain Lee had ordered a minimal demonstration, which meant she would only use the forward battery array. She powered up 6 of the ship's 48 main guns, leaving the others in standby mode. Captain, she reported. Forward guns are ready. Target is locked. Shall I begin the demonstration? Proceed, Lieutenant. Standard mining pattern, low intensity. Bo-Ra entered the firing sequence. To her, this was routine. The kind of asteroid-clearing operation human ships performed dozens of times each year. The guns charged with a deep hum that vibrated through the ship's hull. Energy readings climbed to what humans considered normal, operational levels. On the observation ship, every alien sensor array suddenly screamed warnings. Energy spikes appeared on displays that had never shown readings this high. Emergency alarms began sounding as automatic safety systems tried to protect delicate instruments from overload. What is happening? Demanded High Counselor Veltar. These readings cannot be correct. Dr. Jihai Choi stared at her displays in horror. The energy building up in the human weapons was enough to power the entire council station for a year. And they were calling this a minimal demonstration. All observers prepare for impact. came Captain Lee's voice over the communication system. Demonstration commencing in 10 seconds. The Leviathan fired. 6 beams of coherent energy lanced out across space at the speed of light. Each beam carried more destructive power than the Council's entire defense fleet could generate in a month. They struck the target moon simultaneously, penetrating deep into its core before the energy was released. The moon did not crack. It did not break apart. It simply ceased to exist. In the space of 3 seconds, a celestial body that had orbited its star for billions of years was converted into a cloud of superheated plasma. The energy release was so intense that it could be detected from neighboring star systems. Where a moon had been, there was now only an expanding sphere of glowing gas that would eventually cool into an asteroid field. The observation ship's sensors failed completely. Emergency systems shut down displays to prevent permanent damage to the equipment. In the sudden darkness of the observation deck, the only light came from the artificial star that had briefly replaced the moon. Commander Taemin Park's water tank began to boil from the radiated energy. Emergency cooling systems activated automatically, but his gills were still burning from the superheated liquid. Around him, he could hear the panicked voices of council representatives trying to understand what they had just witnessed. "Impossible," whispered Councillor Thekmore. "No weapon could do that. No species would build such a thing." Dr. Ji-Hai Choi's voice was barely audible over the emergency alarms. "They called it asteroid management. This is what humans consider routine mining operations." On the Leviathan, Lieutenant Shin was checking her instruments for malfunctions. "Captain, the target appears to have been completely vaporized. Was that the intended result?" Captain Lee frowned. The demonstration had been more effective than expected. "Check the power settings, Lieutenant. Were we operating at minimal levels?" "Yes, sir. 6 guns at 15% power. Standard asteroid clearing configuration." General Yoon approached the captain's chair. "Sir, I'm receiving communications from the observation ship. They appear to be distressed." Lee activated the communication system. "Council observation ship, this is Captain Lee. Was the demonstration satisfactory?" There was a long silence before High Counselor Veltar's voice came through, shaking with something that might have been terror. "Captain Lee, what did you do to the moon?" "We performed a standard asteroid management operation, as requested. Did you require a different type of demonstration?" Another silence. Then, "You destroyed it completely, in seconds, with what you call minimal weapons." Lee began to understand the problem. "High Counselor, I should clarify. This was a very small demonstration using only 6 guns at low power. We can provide more comprehensive examples if needed." The communication channel went silent. On the observation ship, council representatives stared at each other in stunned disbelief. The humans had just casually erased a moon from existence, and they were offering to show them something bigger. Dr. Ji-Hai Choi was the first to speak. "If this is their minimal demonstration, what are their actual weapons capable of?" Commander Taemin Park's voice was a whisper. "More importantly, what? Did they build these weapons to fight?" Back on the council station, emergency sessions were being called. Reports of the demonstration spread through the galactic communication network at light speed. Species that had never imagined such destructive capability tried to process what it meant. Counselor Dae-Hyun Ko stood before the emergency assembly, his reptilian features tight with worry. "Fellow counselors, we must face the truth. The humans possess technology that could destroy our entire civilization in hours. We are completely helpless against them." "But they seem peaceful," protested Counselor Yilneth. "They follow our protocols. They respect our customs. They have not threatened us." "That makes it worse," Ko replied. "If they wanted to conquer us, they could have done so without bothering with first contact. The fact that they are here talking to us instead of simply taking what they want suggests something else." "What do you mean?" "I mean they are not here to fight us. They are here to protect us. The question is, from what?" Engineer Jae Sung-han was conducting his own analysis aboard the Leviathan. The power readings from their demonstration had given him valuable. Dr. Young-Soo Lim stood before the assembled council representatives, his hands shaking slightly as he prepared to share humanity's most disturbing discoveries. The emergency session had been called after 3 days of tense discussions following the weapon demonstration. The Council needed answers about why humans had built such terrible weapons, and Earth had finally agreed to tell them the truth. "Honored counselors," Young Su began, activating the holographic display system. "What I am about to show you will change how you see the galaxy. We found this evidence on our explorations beyond Earth's solar system. At first, we thought we were alone in the universe. Then we started finding signs that we were wrong." The first hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a planet from space, blue and green, clearly once capable of supporting life. But something was wrong with the image. Dark scars covered entire continents. The oceans were the wrong color. "This is Kepler 442b, Young Su explained. "We found it 12 years ago. Our analysis shows it once supported a civilization more advanced than anything in the current galaxy. Look closer." The image zoomed in on one of the dark scars. What had looked like natural formations from space revealed themselves to be the melted remains of massive cities. Structures that must have housed millions of beings were twisted into metallic glass. The ground itself had been heated to temperatures that turned rock into crystal. Commander Taemin Park's gills fluttered rapidly in his water tank. "What could cause such destruction?" Young Su's expression was grim. "We asked the same question. The answer took us 8 years to find." The hologram changed to show a different world. This one was completely dead. No atmosphere, no water, just bare rock covered in strange crystalline formations. "This is Ross 128b. Same pattern of destruction, but we found something else here." The image focused on one of the crystal formations. Inside the transparent structure, the vague outline of what had once been a building could be seen. The entire planet had been flash-frozen at temperatures close to absolute zero, preserving the moment of destruction. "The atmospheric analysis shows this planet was destroyed in less than 6 minutes, Young Su continued. "Something with incredible power systematically eliminated every trace of life, then froze the entire world to preserve the evidence of what it had done." Dr. Ji-Hai Choi's 4 arms moved nervously as she processed the information. "How many worlds like this have you found?" 47 confirmed sites, Young Su replied. "Probably more that we haven't discovered yet, all showing the same pattern. Advanced civilizations completely destroyed by unknown forces." High Counselor Veltar's crystal form resonated with disturbed harmonics. "This is terrible. But what does it have to do with your weapons?" Young Su activated a new hologram. This one showed a star chart of the local galactic region. Red dots marked the destroyed worlds. "Look at the pattern, Counselor. The destroyed worlds form a spiral pattern moving outward from the galactic core. Whatever did this was systematic, methodical. It wasn't random destruction. It was organized. Extermination." Captain Haewon Jung stepped forward from where she had been standing quietly in the background. Her intelligence officer insignia marked her as someone with access to humanity's most classified information. "Counselors, I have been authorized to share data that Earth has kept secret until now. What Dr. Lim has shown you is just the beginning." The holographic display changed to show a timeline stretching back thousands of years. Red markers indicated periods of destruction across different regions of the galaxy. "Our analysis of the destroyed worlds shows they were not all destroyed at the same time," Haewon explained. "The pattern suggests a cycle. Every 7,000 to 8,000 years something sweeps through the galaxy, eliminating advanced civilizations. We call them the Silence Makers because they leave nothing behind but silence." Counselor Theckmore's rocky surface cracked with stress. "If such a thing existed, we would know about it. The Council has records going back 3,000 years. There is no evidence of such destruction." "That's exactly the point," Haewon replied. "The current galactic civilization exists because it developed after the last cleansing cycle ended. According to our calculations, the Silence Makers last passed through this region approximately 4,000 years ago. The Council formed after they were gone." Researcher Kyung-Min Seo, a Galactic Council historian, had been studying the human data for hours. Her aquatic species was known for their perfect memory and detailed record-keeping. "I have been cross-referencing the human timeline with our oldest historical records," she said quietly. "There are gaps." "What kind of gaps?" asked High Counselor. "Veltar, Archaeological evidence suggests several species achieved space travel before the Council was formed, but there are no records of them, no trace of their civilizations, no explanation for where they went. We always assumed they simply died out naturally. Young Su nodded grimly. They didn't die out naturally. They were eliminated. Every species. That becomes too advanced, that spreads too far, that builds too much. The Silence Makers returned to clean them out. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Everything they had built, every achievement of their peaceful civilization, existed only because the destroyer had not yet returned. "How do you know when they will come back?" whispered Counselor Yilneth. Captain Jung activated a new display showing current galactic civilization density maps. Based on the pattern from previous cycles, they return when the total technological development of the galaxy reaches a certain threshold. More specifically, when spacefaring civilizations begin to approach the advancement level of the previous cycle's victims. Dr. Ji-Hai Choi studied the data with growing horror. According to this analysis, we should have reached that threshold already. The Silence Makers are overdue. That's correct, Young Su confirmed. By our calculations, they should have returned 800 years ago. Something has delayed them, but we don't know what or for how long. Commander Taemin Park finally understood. This is why you built those weapons. You're not preparing to fight other species. You're preparing to fight something that destroys entire civilizations. Every weapon system, every defensive measure, every military protocol humanity has developed is designed with one purpose, Haewon explained. To be ready when the Silence Makers return. Because we found evidence that at least some of the destroyed IB civilizations tried to fight back. The hologram changed again, showing the remnants of what had clearly been a massive battle. Debris fields stretched across an entire star system. Fragments of ships the size of asteroids drifted in the void. Energy scarring on nearby planets showed where weapons of unimaginable power had been used. "This is the Vega system," Young Su said. "The civilization here didn't just die quietly. They fought. For months, maybe years. But in the end, they still lost." "What were they fighting?" asked Counselor Dae-Hyun Ko. "We don't know exactly. The Silence Makers don't leave bodies behind to study, but the energy signatures from the battle suggest they use technology that can manipulate matter at the quantum level, control gravity fields strong enough to crush planets, and coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously." General In-Ho Yoon had been listening quietly from the back of the chamber. Now he stepped forward, his weathered face showing the strain of carrying humanity's greatest fears. "Counselors, the question is not whether the Silence Makers will return. The question is whether the galaxy will be ready when they do. Your civilizations have spent 3,000 years building art, exploring science, and creating beauty. Those are wonderful achievements, but they won't stop what's coming." "What are you suggesting?" asked High Counselor Veltar. "We're suggesting an alliance," General Yoon replied. "Not for trade or cultural exchange, but for survival. Humanity has weapons, but we're just one species. The Council has resources, knowledge, and industrial capacity that we need. Together, we might have a chance." Researcher SEO was still studying the timeline data. "According to this pattern, if the Silence Makers are 800 years overdue, they could return at any time. We might have decades to prepare, or they might arrive tomorrow." "Why haven't they come already?" asked Dr. Ji-Hai Choi. Captain Jung's expression darkened. "We think they've been watching, waiting for the right moment. Our deep space sensors have detected anomalous signals from the galactic edge for the past 50 years. Something is out there and it's been getting stronger." Young Su activated one final hologram showing recent sensor data from Earth's long-range detection systems. Strange energy patterns appeared at the very edge of the galaxy, too far away to analyze properly, but clearly artificial in origin. 3 days ago, these signals suddenly increased in strength and began moving toward the galactic core. We think our weapon demonstration might have attracted their attention. The council chamber erupted in panicked voices as representatives realized what this meant. The ancient enemy had noticed them. The time for peaceful ignorance was over. High Counselor Veltar's crystal form flashed with emergency colors as he called for order. "If what you say is true, then we face a choice. We can hide and hope they pass us by, or we can prepare to fight." General Yoon's smile was grim, but determined. Counselor, hiding won't work. The silence makers don't leave survivors. But fighting, that's something technician Jun-Ho. O stared at his sensor display aboard the Leviathan, unable to believe what he was seeing. The readings had appeared suddenly, like shadows moving across the edge of space itself. He checked his instruments 3 times before calling for Captain Lee. Captain, you need to see this immediately. We have contacts at the galaxy's outer rim. Multiple contacts. They're massive, sir. Captain Hyunwoo Lee moved quickly to the sensor station. The display showed energy signatures unlike anything in their databases. Ships the size of small moons were moving in formation toward the galactic core. Behind them, larger vessels appeared, some big enough to be artificial planets. How many? Lee asked quietly. I count at least 200 vessels in the first wave, sir. And there are more waves behind them, many more. Lee felt his blood turn cold. This was what humanity had prepared for, what they had feared, what they had built their weapons to fight. The silence makers had returned. Send an immediate alert to Earth Command and the Council Station. Tell them it's begun. Admiral Mi Kyung-bak stood in the command center of Earth's hidden military base on Titan. Around her, displays showed the deployment of humanity's true defensive force. For 50 years, Earth had been building weapons and ships in secret, preparing for this exact moment. Now that preparation would be tested. Admiral, reported Communications Officer Dal-Soo Park, we're receiving the signal from Captain Lee. The silence makers have been detected at the galactic rim. Estimated time to reach Council space is 72 hours. Beck nodded grimly. Signal all hidden fleets. Execute Operation Last Light. Every ship, every weapon, every defensive system we've built, deploy it all. The space around Earth suddenly filled with ships. Massive dreadnoughts emerged from behind Jupiter's moons. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as asteroids powered up and revealed their true nature. Defense stations hidden in the outer planet's rings activated weapon systems that could crack continents. What the Council had seen as humanity's excessive military was revealed to be only the tip of an enormous iceberg. Earth had built a fleet capable of fighting a war across multiple star systems. On the Council Station, emergency meetings had been running for 18 hours straight. Representatives from 47 species tried to process the reality that their peaceful galaxy was about to be invaded by an ancient enemy they couldn't fight. High Counselor Veltar's crystal form flickered with stressed patterns as he addressed the assembly. Fellow counselors, we face the end of everything we have built. Our defensive capabilities are essentially zero. Our weapons are designed for mining and construction, not warfare. We have perhaps 3 days before the silence makers reach our territory. Counselor Dae-hyun Ko stood up from his seat. High Counselor, I move that we formally request military assistance from Earth. We have no choice but to accept their protection. And what will they demand in return? Asked Counselor Yilneth. Species with such power could rule the galaxy, if they wished. Dr. Ji-hai Choi had been studying human behavior for weeks now. I don't think they want to rule us, she said quietly. I think they want to save us. Their entire civilization has been shaped by preparing for this moment. To them, we represent everything worth protecting. Art, science, peaceful cooperation. Things they had to give up to become warriors. Commander Taemin Park floated in his water tank, watching the displays that showed the approaching silence maker fleet. The question is whether even human weapons can stop something that has been destroying civilizations for thousands of years. Captain Lee was asking himself the same question as he watched more and more enemy contacts appear on his sensors. The silence maker ships were using technology that bent space itself, allowing them to travel faster than anything in human experience. Worse, their energy signatures suggested they were using the vacuum of space itself as a weapon. Engineer Han. He called to his weapons specialist. Analysis of the enemy vessels? Jae Sung-han's face was pale as he studied the data. Captain, these ships are operating on principles we barely understand. They seem to be manipulating fundamental forces. Gravity, electromagnetism, even time itself. Our weapons will work against them, but we're going to need everything we have. General Yoon was coordinating with Earth's hidden fleet when the first long-range engagement began. Human deep space monitoring stations, positioned at the galaxy's edge, opened fire on the Silence Maker advanced scouts. The weapons that had vaporized a moon 3 days earlier struck targets that absorbed the energy and kept coming. "First contact with enemy scouts," Yoon reported to Captain Lee. "Our deep space platforms are engaging. Results mixed. The enemy ships are damaged but not destroyed. They're adapting to our weapon frequencies." Lee understood. The Silence Makers had faced advanced civilizations before. They knew how to counter energy weapons, how to deflect particle beams, how to absorb explosions that could destroy planets. But they had never faced humanity's true innovation, the willingness to use everything as a weapon. "Send new orders to all fleet commanders," Lee said. "Switch to kinetic bombardment. If energy weapons aren't effective, we'll use mass and velocity." Across human space, the hidden fleet began firing projectiles instead of energy beams. Chunks of asteroid accelerated to significant fractions of light speed by magnetic launchers. The Silence Makers could absorb energy, but they still had to obey the laws of physics when several million tons of rock hit them at incredible velocity. The first Silence Maker ship was destroyed 12 hours later when a human kinetic projectile punched completely through its hull and detonated the exotic matter containment systems inside. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. Counselor Kyungmin Seo was monitoring the battle from the council station when she made a disturbing discovery. "Counselors, I've been analyzing the Silence Maker attack pattern. They're not just trying to destroy our military forces. They're systematically targeting our cultural centers, our art galleries, our libraries. They want to erase not just our lives, but our entire civilization." Ambassador Yoonji Nam had been coordinating between Earth forces and Council civilian evacuations. "That's exactly what we expected," she said grimly. "The Silence Makers don't just kill civilizations, they delete them from history. That's why we built our weapons to do more than just fight. We built them to preserve." As the battle intensified, humanity revealed the true scope of their preparation. Hidden throughout Council space were emergency shelters designed to protect civilian populations. Massive data storage facilities contained copies of every piece of art, literature, and scientific knowledge from all 47 Council species. Mobile shipyards began producing new weapons using Council industrial capacity, guided by human military engineering. The peaceful galaxy was being transformed into a fortress. But the Silence Makers were not easily stopped. As more of their fleet arrived, they began using weapons that defied understanding. Gravity bombs that crushed entire moons into singularities. Reality distortion fields that made sections of space stop following normal physics. Temporal weapons that erased targets from the timeline itself. Lieutenant Bo-Ra Shin was manning the weapons console of the Leviathan when the main Silence Maker battle fleet finally reached the Council's core systems. "Captain, enemy fleet strength is beyond our estimates. I count over 3,000 vessels, many larger than our biggest ships. All human forces, this is Admiral Baek," came the voice over the fleet communication system. "We are outnumbered and outgunned. But we are not outfought. Remember what we're protecting. Remember what happens if we fail. Show them what it means to face humanity." The greatest space battle in galactic history began above the peaceful worlds of the Council. Human ships, each one carrying enough firepower to sterilize planets, engaged enemies that could manipulate the fabric of reality itself. The sky filled with weapons fire that turned night into day on dozens of worlds. Captain Lee watched his tactical display as human ships fought with desperate courage against impossible odds. They were losing ships, but they were making the Silence Makers pay for every victory. For the first time in 8,000 years, the ancient enemy was facing real resistance. "Technician?" "Oh," Lee called. "Are you detecting any change in enemy behavior?" Jun-Ho. Oh studied his sensors carefully. "Yes, sir. They're hesitating. Some of their ships are pulling back from direct engagement. It's like they're not sure how to fight an enemy that actually shoots back." Lee allowed himself a grim smile. "Then we're doing something right. Signal all ships. Continue current engagement patterns. Make every shot count." In the depths of space, the Silence Maker command entities processed data they had never encountered before. In thousands of cycles of galactic cleansing, they had never faced organized resistance. Civilizations either fled in terror or died in confused panic. They had never fought enemies that came looking for a fight. These humans were different. They had prepared for this war. They had built weapons specifically designed to fight the cleansing fleet. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to be protecting the other species rather than abandoning them. For the first time in their ancient,